Welcome to the West Point Lake Update. I'm your host, Rocky Millenbine, Park Ranger with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers at West Point Lake. We have a great show highlighting outdoor recreational opportunities at West Point Lake and on the Chattahoochee River. So stay tuned because we have much more to come. Welcome back to the West Point Lake Update. With me now I have Frank Hardenstein with Pine Mountain Adventures. Frank, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. And we have you here because you're kind of our kayaking expert. And we really wanted to show the folks of LaGrange and this area some of the great opportunities that we have locally to get out in nature with your kayak and get that firsthand experience.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great area to be in. I mean, West Point Lake has got probably 300-400 miles of shoreline, so there are a lot of little coves you can paddle around.
Actually, over 500.
Yeah, okay, so over 500, so that's a lot of paddling you can do out there. And above the lake, from around Whitesburg Downs, a nice stretch you can paddle in a kayak, and then below the lake again, starting at the dam, and you can go almost down to, I guess it's Lake Harding there. So there's several options just within the few miles around LaGrange to paddle a kayak.
Yeah, and some beautiful areas, as you were saying. And the thing is, with a kayak, you know, you're able to get into areas that you normally couldn't. You know, it'd be difficult to hike through or etc. But you can get on that kayak, launch from an area like below the dam at Hardley Creek and see some really beautiful things.
You can, and speaking of nature, I mean, if your kids study eagles in their classrooms and so forth, but they can actually get out there and see an eagle or see otters along the beach, or tons of ducks and geese and what have you. So, yep, and there are even a few riffles along the way, so you know, get a little speed up in the kayak, so it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you know, we were talking earlier, we both have I don't have the experience you have, but I have a little bit of experience on a kayak, and you're right, just on the river and north side of the lake, it seems to be that's the areas that you see the most bald eagles and osprey and some of the really neat things that you might not be able to see in a typical park on the lake.
That's true, and the nice part about a kayak is you can kind of sneak up on some of those things as opposed to coming in with a 200 horsepower motor blasting you in there and scaring everything off. You can just kind of ease in there, and in the mornings it's great. Take your cup of coffee and sit and watch them with your binoculars or take pictures or what have you.
Yeah, and you mentioned being able to just kind of slip in there. You're just gliding through the water. There's not really much disturbance at all. So you're able to see some of those things that maybe normally people aren't able to see.
Yeah, exactly. Great experience.
Yeah, and I'm sure some of our viewers, you know, who haven't had experience on a kayak, you know, their first thought is, you know, am I going to flip this? I mean, you know, is it safe for me to use? What do you have to say to people that might have those questions?
I think actually kayaks are a whole lot safer and easier to use than a canoe, for instance. The platform for a kayak is right down on the water, and you're sitting there, so your balance is pretty good, so they're really difficult to flip. Mm-hmm. Of course, there are different types of kayaks. I mean, if you're paddling a whitewater kayak on the lake, then it's going to be more difficult to paddle and it'll turn circles. But if you have a kayak with a wider platform and maybe a little length to it, then you'll paddle a nice straight line and you'll be perfectly stable. You can actually fish off of it or take your pictures or what have you and not have to worry about getting dunked. Right.
So what type of kayak do you really recommend for just the average Joe out wanting to see the lake or the river?
I think for this area, a nice all-purpose sit-on-top kayak is great. The beauty of them is, particularly in the summer, if you get hot, you hop off and then you hop back in and you're nice and cool. They paddle just like a kayak that you may have a skirt or anything else. You can, if you actually want to do an overnight trip, you can still pack your gear and go down the river, fish off of it, whatever. And a lot of kayak companies will sell a basic kayak, like all-purpose one, and then you can kind of outfit it the way you want. Actually put rod holders on it, or places to store your gear or anything else.
Yeah, and it's generally a pretty inexpensive thing to do compared to other boats. I mean, you know, you might have to spend thousands of dollars for a boat with a motor and you know, use at the lake, where for a few $100s, you know, you can get that boating experience.
Yeah, absolutely. You can get, for, you know, a few $100s, you can get your boat and your paddle and vest if you don't have one, and get in. I would encourage people to maybe go to places where they might try out a few boats and see what they like before they purchase them. I think it's real important that when they get in there, they have a lot of fun, and then they'll want to get back in and do it again.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you mentioned something really important that I'd like to highlight. You know, I work for the Corps of Engineers, and life jackets are a very big deal to us. And you mentioned the importance of having a life jacket when you are on a kayak. Could you go on about that a little bit more? Some of the safety equipment you might need?
Yeah. Absolutely. The life jacket, of course, is a must. One of the things that concerns me with life vests is a lot of times I'll see them and they aren't fitting properly. A proper fitted life vest needs to be tight enough that when you lift it up on the shoulders, it just comes up a couple of inches. I think a problem that kids have is if they're not in a proper fit one, they jump in the water and the life vest shoots up, and they go down. So
we got a little saying, it's life jackets float, you don't. So even if you got it on, it'll pop up. You know, you're gonna it'll go all the way to your underarms, and then you got this big life jacket. You get that with kids trying to wear their parents' life jackets, and I agree completely. But is that really for the basic use? You know, the only safety equipment?
I'd wear sandals when you go out or something like that. Obviously, bare feet in the river don't work real well if they've got a chance of bottles or something like that. Sunscreen, hats, just the normal sorts of things.
Right.
So anybody can do it.
Yeah.
I think, one of the things people have a thing age-wise, either a kid's too young or I'm too old or something like that. And I'd like to say I think anybody can do it. I love to see kids out there. They're actually more stable than adults paddling around and getting some experience. And then older people, I think it's something they can do. It's a great exercise.
It is. It's great exercise, and it's not very high impact exercise really either. You can you can row as fast as you want or as slow as you want.
Exactly. And you're using all of your muscles, from the legs up with kayaking if you kind of learn the strokes right. So great exercise, and it's relaxing, like you say. Get out on the water and just enjoy it.
Absolutely. And you actually brought some kayaks to an event here at the lake earlier in the summer, and you had some very young people that were having a great time out there.
Yeah, it was hard to get the kayaks back in sometimes. They're having so much fun.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, that you've got experiences like that for a young person that might normally not get to do a thing like kayak. It's great to really build up the people that are going to really be lifelong enjoyers of the sport. Exactly,
and I think that's what we're trying to do. I think with the issues surrounding the environment and everything else, if we can get people out there on the rivers and the lakes, and they're learning to enjoy the kayaks, but they're also learning that they need to take care of these things that they have out there.
Yeah, you're not going to love the river and keeping the water clean and the environment if you're not out in it. So I agree completely. Yeah. And before we go, I definitely want to talk a little bit about your company, Pine Mountain Adventures. What can you tell folks about what you guys do?
Well, our business kind of works in all aspects of the outdoors. Work with a lot of school groups, particularly in the Florida area, where we'll put together a week-long trip for, say, a 6th grade class. It'll include kayaking and backpacking, and we try to teach them environmental studies and such as that. And then my other end of my business is the sort of a corporate end, and work with a lot of companies on team building and learning to work together and such. Do everything from amazing races to rock climbing and caving and what have you.
Okay, and you mentioned Florida, and you also work even up into Virginia, in that area as well?
Right, do a lot around the Asheville, North Carolina and Greenville, South Carolina area. So we do a lot throughout the Southeast. Probably don't do as much as I'd like around this area, but that's usually always the way, it seems like, with a business.
Now, Pine Mountain Adventures, obviously you guys are located in Pine Mountain. Do you venture into LaGrange area much? We do, yeah. We use your lake, of course, all the time. I actually had a group from Springwood School out there a couple of weeks back, and we were paddling and doing team building for their senior class. Excellent.
But yeah, and on Pine Mountain we use the state park, a lot of backpacking there, and Camp Conchardi, a Girl Scout camp where we can sort of base camp and then work out of that.
Right, but so, if you use the lake, you'd be available for folks here in LaGrange as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and what activities all do you have? I've looked at your brochure earlier, and you had some really cool things that photoed in there. Tell us about some of those.
Obviously the kayaking is one example. I mean, we can do everything from West Point Lake to go over to the coast of Georgia and do the Barrier Islands. One trip I particularly like is putting in the Okefenokee Swamp and paddling out of the Okefenokee Swamp into the Swanee River and down that. And in the summertime particularly, it's nice. You get nice and hot, and then you sit in 60-degree springs and then go on down the river.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are a lot of things to do. This weekend I'm probably going caving up in the northwest corner of the state.
Wow.
So, yeah, do a lot of different things.
A lot of all-encompassing. If you like to be outside, then you'd be a good
Yeah,
person to contact to do that. And that's a great thing about kayaking is you're out paddling in the water, but if you come up to a pretty area or a nice shoals, you get out, you can swim for a while, you can explore for a little bit and jump back in. It's okay if you're wet, you're just in a plastic kayak, right?
That's right, that's right. And I think that's real important too, is not to push it. Take your time, enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were just talking earlier about how, at the beginning you definitely don't want to take these extremely long trips,
True.
kind of build yourself up, get to where you enjoy maybe a mile paddle before, and really, because it can be taxing after a while. If you're not real experienced and you try to paddle 5 miles plus, then you might get wore out and it won't be as enjoyable.
Yeah, yep, and go out with a group of people. That's always nice. If somebody's dragging a little bit, you've got some people to help out a little. In kayaks, it's not only just a one-person thing. There are a lot of two-person kayaks out there. Mm-hmm. Really nice thing for the wife and the husband. I mean, you can test a marriage real quick right there.
Absolutely. And really the thing is we want to encourage everyone to keep this option open as an experience, not just individually, but for yourself, for your family, and especially if you're looking to get out and be outside and enjoy nature.
Absolutely. I think it's a great one, and you can add it to any of your sports. If you're into biking, kayaking's a good one to back it up. So,
okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, if people that are interested in your company, Pine Mountain Adventures, how can they get a hold of you, Frank?
Well, probably the easiest way is to go to pinemountainadventures.com, and there's an information page on there, and just shoot me an email.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah,
well, Frank,
great.
Thank you so much for being on the show. I think we've all learned a lot, and we look forward to keeping up with you, sir.
Oh, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure being here.
Great. And stay tuned because we have more to come. With us now, we have Ken Hackett with Sorba, which is a mountain biking group that is here locally. Ken, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Rocky.
And, we really wanted to bring you in because we have some excellent mountain biking opportunities here at West Point Lake.
Yes, we do.
And most importantly, the trail that is over on the PMO Road. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about that trail.
Well, it's Lakeside Trails. Started 2006, I believe. Pretty much all volunteer built. The Corps pitched in a little bit of materials and a little help getting us going with some machinery. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, almost 95% all volunteer built.
Absolutely, yeah. It's the Lakeside Trail, as you mentioned. It's really been kind of a passion of yours. You've been spearheading a little bit this, and it's been done just complete with people coming in, mountain bike enthusiasts that want a trail here in the area, and you guys have made it happen.
Yep. And actually, the Corps invited us in originally, and once they gained our trust or their trust in us,
sure,
let us go, and
right.
We've been under their guidelines, but have pretty much made it our own.
Absolutely, and it is a a partnership with the Corps of Engineers and Sorba,
yeah.
and that's kind of, we have the facilities here available, and like you said, we've put up some signs and helped out a little bit, but really the big thing is you guys have gone out there, and this trail's been cut mostly by hand,
yep.
Very little large equipment, and to make it, I guess, more natural looking trail. Is that the hope of it?
Yeah, that the little bit of ease of building it when you do it by hand, and just kind of clearing and going through the machine cut parts, though it's easier to clear and do that, do require a little bit more maintenance to keep it cleared out to the wider areas, mm-hmm. things like that, because you get down to more when you dig back, it takes a little bit longer to get that packed back down and things like that. So only a few sections have been hand or machine cut. Most of it's hand built.
And you just mentioned different sections. How many sections to the trail are there?
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, I believe 5 different sections. There's one main loop. You can go all the way around. It takes you probably 4.5 miles or so.
Okay.
And then there's other sections off of that. You can do a complete 10-mile route, or you can break it up and just do other levels.
Okay, yeah. And I guess, are there different, excuse me, difficulty levels, or how are they differentiated?
The very first part, if you went out and back, is pretty much considered our beginner section. About 1.5 miles from Schaefer Herd Day Use Park over to Eagle View. Really nice along the lake, excellent scenery and views. One little spot where you can sit down, and it's about a halfway point. You can sit on the bench,
Sure.
look out over the lake. But if you go out and back, like I said, it's about 3 miles that way. But if you did the whole loop, that takes up beginner and then like an intermediate or a little bit more difficult. And then the loops off of them are generally more difficult yet.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, and mountain biking, I mean, we all ride our bikes when we're kids and stuff,
Yeah.
but it's still something everybody can do, but there's also can be a more of a difficulty level if that's what you want.
Yep. And a lot of it's kind of perceived. I go out and don't see any difficulty in any of it. Some people can go out and say, this is just way over my head. And for those folks, I say, if you find something, nothing's impassable. If you don't think you can go over, if there's a log ride or something like that, just walk your bike over it.
Sure.
I mean, nothing's dangerous or anything like that.
But there's something there for everybody. I guess that's
Right.
what we really want. So if you're just a family that wants to get out on the trail so the kids can be in the woods and see see the lake from a different point of view, that's available.
Yep.
And also for you hardcore riders,
Right.
there's areas that you guys can go and still get that
Yep.
adrenaline rush
Yep.
experience.
And the nice thing too is it's even though we call it the mountain bike trail, plenty of people do go out and just hike it. If biking isn't your thing, it's there for everybody to go out and use.
Okay.
And we actually do have quite a few people that get out and hike, mainly the section along the lake just for the views and stuff, but we do get people that are out on the outskirts, further out trails. And to date, haven't had any issues of hiker-biker conflicts.
Okay,
that
good.
You sometimes hear of at other trail
Right.
systems. It's been really good here.
And really, that section around the visitor center is some of the most beautiful views of the lake that we have.
It
Because
is.
it's some higher ground there where you can get a nice panoramic view
Yep.
of the lake, and it's really a beautiful area.
Yep. And it leads. There's also a trail that leads right up to the resource manager's office,
Sure.
so you can go see the
Right.
museum and stuff up there.
And where is the main trail entrance, the trailhead?
In the Schaefer Herd day use area.
Okay. Yeah, and which is an open, free use park that anybody can come and
Right.
to get off. And I'm out in the lake all the time, but and it's surprising. You guys get a lot of usage, from areas from Atlanta, from Columbus, not just locally here in LaGrange and West Point.
No, and I see it quite a bit, and I've met a few people out there too where you pull in the parking lot and you'll see just the tags on the cars, different counties, and that, okay, they're not anywhere close to here. And I've talked to some people as far as away, Pennsylvania and stuff.
Oh, wow.
They didn't come for the trail, but they were mountain bikers, were in the area, did some research, found out it was there, and it's all been positive feedback. People I've talked to said, great trail, they didn't expect anything like that, in the area, and were quite surprised.
Yeah, and the trail, it's still ongoing. I mean, I know you guys are still working on new sections. And
Yeah, a little bit of reroutes here and there. There's a couple spots that that we used in the beginning just to get a full loop done. We used part of the power line area. It's really not a sustainable part of the trail. It's real steep, straight
Okay.
down. Over time, it just washes out.
Sure.
Plus, it's the power line easement. They have the rights to come in and do whatever. We ran into that last year where they cut a bunch of trees and it just
dropped them down.
dropped them right in the trail. But I don't think they really knew the trail was there. They just came in and did their job and left. So.
Sure. And I mentioned that you're a member of SORBA earlier. Tell us a little bit more about that group.
SORBA, it's a 501(c) nonprofit organization. The SORBA itself, we're one little chapter regionally here with LaGrange, West Point, Columbus. And SORBA itself covers like 5-6 states in the southeast, and they're partnered with an even bigger organization called IMBA, International Mountain Biking Association, and they're global.
Okay.
And they really do a lot of the advocacy and raising the money. They have 2 crews that go out nationally and help areas get established. They actually came and helped us when we started this trail.
Right, I think I can remember a couple folks coming.
Yeah, it was the IMBA Trail Care crew. They came out, had 2 people come out and give us a class on trail building techniques, this and that. So everyone that's been involved with the building of it all had training from them.
Okay, great. And really, I guess the biggest thing is you've got a local group of biking enthusiasts, that get together. Do you guys usually ride as a group? I mean,
we get group rides going. A lot of people like to go off and do their own things, but occasionally we'll all come together. We have set times at ride. If we go to our Facebook page, usually have rides scheduled there. But we a lot of local rides, and every so often we'll get out and we'll go other places, North Georgia, we'll go out in Alabama, other places like that.
Yeah, kind of organized trips to the mountains or different areas.
Some can be day trips, some go off a little bit further where we'll camp overnight and ride 2 days and come back.
Yeah, I can imagine there's probably quite a bit of bike trail up in the mountains, up in North Georgia.
Yeah.
And some really pretty areas up there.
The trails up there are much different than what we have here. I mean, because they're outback trails and things like that. They get a little bit rougher. But it's another thing SORBA's working with the National Forest Service, getting those trails built up to where they're more sustainable and not so. They're still outback trails, but they're rebuilding them and just doing good things with all that stuff.
Right. And the trails here at West Point, like they get a lot of local use, but do you guys also have some larger events that take place on them?
The past 2 years we've had a promoter come in, race promoter, and had one of his series races here 2 years in a row. This year they went back to an existing park they used to go to, so we didn't have it this year. And there's a group in West Point that has put on an adventure race, I think 4 or 5 years in a row now.
Okay.
Don't think they're doing it this year just for logistic reasons and people not being able to pull it all together. But in coming years, we'll probably get that back. Okay, great. So if someone really wants to incorporate maybe a bike race or something like that, the trail is available for that. Yep. Okay. Yeah, all you need is the special event permit, I believe, from the Corps, and and they're more than welcome to have their events there. Absolutely. And there's a lot of maintenance that goes on to keeping this trail. Is there a need for more volunteers with your group? There's always a need for volunteers, and anyone that would want to help, can get a hold of us. Like I said, we have a Facebook page, Chattahoochee Valley SORBA, and you search for that in Facebook, and it'll show up. Or cvasorba.org, I believe it is. I may have to be corrected on that. But is a direct email to the president and myself. So anyone that wants to get a hold of us privately can do that as well. Absolutely. And what are some other activities that people can, when they join SORBA, what can they kind of expect? Well, just we have meetings primarily once a month or so. In the summer, we've kind of slacked off because a lot of people are busy. We go to every other month. But we do have regular monthly meetings. Like I said, the group rides, things like that. Right now in Columbus, there's a charity event going on for one of our members. One of his children has leukemia. Oh, no. So they're having a 4 weekends in a row, kind of like a time trial series down in one of the trails in Columbus. Okay. So that's one of the things we're raising money for that family to help them out. So. Absolutely, and hopefully some of the folks watching might want to take part in that, for a good cause.
But you know, we
So
want
it's not just we just don't take
Right.
your membership money and you never hear from us.
absolutely, because
we have
there's
things.
really more than just West Point. You know, I'm sure there are other opportunities in Columbus and areas like that for you guys,
Yes,
for
there is.
members of SORBA to take part in and get out there and ride.
Yep. And we're actually co-hosting a Trek demo day that's going to be up sometime in October.
Okay, great. So that's an opportunity for people to come out and see some different mountain bikes and
Yep.
take them for a test spin, basically.
Right. And it's also a good opportunity for those that may not have a mountain bike, don't know if they want to spend the money to see if they like it.
Right.
It's a great opportunity to get out, get a free demo bike from Trek, get out, ride it on the trails, see if it's really something for you.
Okay, absolutely, and we want to encourage people to come out to West Point Lake to get on the lakeside trail, use it, and because that's what it's there for.
Yep.
Absolutely. Well, Ken, we thank you for being on the show today.
I appreciate it.
And again, we just want to encourage everybody to come out to the lakeside trail and give it a spin. But we'll be right back with more to come. Welcome back. I'd like to thank you all for joining us today, and I hope that we've all learned about some unique opportunities to enjoy the outdoors, and that you'll take the opportunity to come visit us at West Point Lake. I'd also like to thank our guests, Ken Hacka with SORBA and Frank Hardenstein with the Pine Mountain Adventures, for being with us today. I'd like to remind you about a few upcoming events and important dates. The West Point Lake Cleanup will be held on October 20th. We'll be looking for volunteers, so keep the date open. We also have some seasonal closures coming up at West Point Lake. Yellow Jacket Beach, Earl Cook Beach, and Rocky Point Beach will all be closing on September 3rd. Amity Campground will be closing for the season on September 9th, and Holiday Campground will be closing for the season on September 30th. So be sure to get over to the lake and get another few beach and camping trips in. Thanks again for joining us, and remember to always wear your life jacket when you're on the water. It can be a life-saving decision.